Hey guys, welcome back to Starcastic Remarks, and we have another episode of Stars fan stories here for you today. But before we introduce today's guest, I would actually really appreciate, and I'd like to acknowledge DraftKings Sportsbook. They're our sponsor for our podcast for this episode, and also all of THPN. So please go and use that promo code THPN next time you use DraftKings Sportsbook. Lots of cool things going on there. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring in today's Stars Fan Stories guest. His name is David. Hey, David, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
So, I actually have technically my actual name is David. I don't know if I
really?
ever told you that. Yeah. So my dad's name, who's been on the podcast a couple of times, his name is David, and my legal first name is David. So we didn't want to get confused between the two when I was growing up. So I just went by my middle name, Ryan. So
Yeah. Well,
long story short.
I'm a junior. I'm actually the second. My mom didn't want me to be called junior, so I'm the second, and it's made for a lot of fun with postage mail and stuff like that I get that belongs to my dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of the same way too. I was almost a junior, and I'm so happy that my mom saved me and said, "Nope, we're just gonna put his middle name as
I
Ryan."
didn't name my son the third just because of that reason. Problems. So, nothing like a 3-year-old getting mail that he's eligible for AARP or something.
Exactly. That's funny. So anyways, man, can you just, tell us just a little bit about yourself, non-hockey related stuff, how old you are, you got any family,
Sure.
kids, stuff
Sure.
like that?
Yeah, so I'm 41 years old, born and raised in the Dallas area. Been married for almost 17 years. Wife and I have 3 kids. We have a 14-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old daughter, and a 3-year-old son. So so it that definitely keeps us busy. So.
Is the teenager already getting into the terrible teen years?
Oh yeah, totally. My phone is not holding the proper charge, and all that stuff. Staying up late on the phone and trying to, wanting the next electronics and all that good stuff. So
Yep, all that
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
Any boyfriends so far you have to fend off with the shotgun?
Not really. She's got plenty of that's a grandparents that would love to do that. So I'm going to let them handle that. They kind of pride in that. So I'm going to let them. They kind of like that. If anybody messes with my granddaughter, just let me know. I was like, 10-4. Well,
yes, sir.
That can be arranged. So.
And it's always way more effective when grandparents do it than parents.
Yeah.
I found that out.
Yeah, I think they take more enjoyment out of it anyway. So yeah, so
true.
Yeah, and my 3-year-old son, he has become a diehard Dallas Stars fan. I mean, most 3-year-olds, you're thinking they're into, Mickey Mouse or some cartoons and that type of stuff. No, he watches Dallas Stars hockey on YouTube as often as you'll let him. So.
And you even sent me just before we even recorded this, you sent me a video of him pretending to be a certain player, right?
Oh yeah. He's got these little sets of YouTube highlights that he'll watch. He'll pull up on TV, and most of it is around the 2019-2020 run, and where he, it shows off all the countdown of the top 10 goals of that year. And he'll run around saying, Seguin scores in overtime. And, he's running around with his little hockey stick. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Super, super cute. That's awesome. Does he have a favorite player? Is it Tyler Seguin?
I haven't told him this because we don't know how this is going to shake out. But he likes Klingberg. He says Klingberg a lot.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You might have to...
how I'm going to explain all of that to him. But Jamie Benn is one word for him. Jamie Benn. It's not Jamie Benn. So he likes Jamie Benn. And then the other one is Radulov. He likes to say Radulov a lot. So
Of course, and the two of the three
Yeah,
players that he says they're gone pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, pretty much. So we'll have to see how this next year shakes out. But it's a lot of fun. Not so much fun for my wife when, on a Sunday morning she comes out of the master bedroom and she's like, "Why is he blaring the NHL goal horns on YouTube?" 6:30 in the morning.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's never a dull moment.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So where do you actually live in relation to Dallas?
I'm in Denton County, kind of up near that Little Elm area.
Okay, so that's kind of Little Elm, Prosper-ish
Yeah.
kind of area.
So yeah, yeah.
Okay, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Um, so let me ask you. Let's get into some hockey related stuff here because
Sure.
obviously we're a Stars podcast, so we got to go into it. So I love to hear people's. The whole reason why I started this is because, you know, even between my three brothers, between me, Zach, Chris, and James, the four oldest out of all of us, we all have different, reasons why we got into hockey.
Sure.
Obviously, it stems from our dad because he was a big hockey fan. But like each of us has like a different specific era where we really, really got into it. So for me, it was really early on because I was little and I was 6 years old when they won the Stanley Cup.
hmm
So can you tell me a little bit about like how you got into hockey and why specifically it was the Dallas Stars that you're such a big fan of?
Sure. So, the Stars didn't come to Dallas until '93. So at that point, I was already, like late elementary school into middle school ish. So that the hockey program that we have here in Dallas was basically non-existent. At the younger age, at the youth age, when I was growing up. So that didn't really happen. So it wasn't until I was late in high school when the grocery store that I was working at, one of the assistant store managers was a big Stars fan, and he kept talking about what a big game this was coming up and how he couldn't wait for it and all stuff. Well, long story short, it was Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals against Colorado in '99.
Ooh, that must have been a fun game to watch.
And that was my first time of really sitting down to watch a game. And at that point, I was like, whoa, where has this game been all my life? So at that moment, I was hooked ever since. Ever since that game that propelled us to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's quite something to look back on and see.
So it legitly was the 1999 run that started your whole fandom with the Dallas
Yeah,
Stars.
yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
what's really cool about the Stars is that you can kind of look at three specific runs over the course of their history, and you
hmm
could point to okay, each one of these runs kind of generated a new
Fan,
generation of a
yeah,
new
yeah,
generation of Stars fans, right? So like 99 was like mine, like it was like for me and for you. And
hmm
then there was the 2008 run where they made it to the Western Conference Final. They lost to San Jose, and then when they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Final in 2020. So it's kind of a pretty decent 10-year 11-year gap between each thing, which kind of keeps this fan base going, which kind of keeps the whole Dallas Stars organization alive. So I think that's really cool. So
yeah.
um,
I don't know if you had a chance to see that ESPN documentary on Unrivaled between the Red Wings and the Avs.
we literally just talked about that with Brooke just this afternoon. So
Oh,
I have seen it. Yes, it's
okay,
amazing.
it's
Absolutely
for
amazing.
the fans. I don't want to spoil it for the people that haven't seen it, but for the younger Dallas Stars fans, like if it wasn't for the Dallas Stars and their '99 2000 run, I mean, Detroit and Colorado might have gone on a run that was just unseen before. It was pretty neat to look back on to see that although Dallas only won one cup, they were definitely in the mix that 5 or 6 years, from about '97 to I'd say '03,
Hmm.
where they were up there and competing and knocking on the door for Stanley Cups. It's pretty neat to look back and see what an arms race it was back then for these teams to no salary cap and they could just trade for whomever. And, it's just, what did this team do? What did this team do? Next thing you know, it's like just leading up to this monumental series. So it's pretty cool to look back on.
And I what a lot of younger Stars fans don't understand, and I'm slightly included in that because I really started paying attention to hockey in '99, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say like the beginning of the '98-'99 season,
Mm-hmm.
because they were really starting to make a push, really starting to get good. But there is no rivalry currently in the NHL that is anywhere close to the rivalry that those two teams had in the late '90s, the early 2000s. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not even
Not,
close. I
yeah,
mean, you could look Vegas and San Jose. You could talk Battle of Alberta. I mean, Stars Nashville, Stars St. Louis. It's
yeah,
nowhere close.
like the bloodbath that was. And yeah, it was that. And it was pretty neat to kind of look again. Nothing about that documentary has to do with Dallas, but in a way they played a role in it.
They did. So let me ask you about how many games do you go to a year if you can go to games?
It probably averages out to about a couple a year, 1 to
It's like
2 per year.
two. Yeah.
Um, Again, way back when my wife and I were newlyweds, we had like a mini season ticket package. So we were going more often, and then as you start having kids and obligations with them and stuff, it kind of stretches out the schedule a little bit. So I only make it to 1 or 2 games a year total. I try to be selective on when I can go, just to cater to everybody. But man, definitely back in the day though, Lord knows I had my season tickets. Newlyweds, we probably didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, but by God, David had his hockey tickets. I can promise you that.
So
I joke with everybody that we were eating hamburger helper without the hamburger, but David was sitting glass side, that's for sure.
man, that's one thing I've actually haven't gotten to do a ton is sit like in the lower bowl most of the time. I like to sit in the upper bowl anyway because I like to see the play develop. So I'm like in the 300s
I
normally.
actually do, yeah. I'm like you. I actually don't mind the higher of the aerial view, because you can really see, like you said, stuff develop. And but there's also something, if you haven't had a chance to, or any of your listeners have a chance to go sit down low, they can really see just how fast in person the game is.
Yeah, that is the one thing that you can't really grasp about being all the way up in the 300s is just like how insanely fast these guys can go, how insanely fast they think. Like they know what they're gonna do like 3 guys before them most of the time.
You're right.
And but anyways, let me get into the question I wanted to ask you about. What do you what do you like about going to Stars games? Is it like the food? Is it the atmosphere? Is it the people around you? What do you like about going to the American Airlines Center?
What's actually a real treat for me is if I've gotten to take somebody to a game that's never been to a game. That's a real big treat for me because I can maybe explain stuff to them that's going on that maybe they don't understand. The look on their face when they see the atmosphere, especially if it's like a playoff type atmosphere, that's just outstanding. And although, obviously the Stars fan base isn't as large as, the Cowboys or Mavericks per se, but it's very intense fan base. And so when I can get around 18,000 of my closest friends, I'm going to try to do it and thoroughly enjoy myself.
Yeah, that's my thing too. Is like most, and I say most of the time because you do have to deal with stupid people every once in a while.
Right.
But typically, when you sit down and you're watching the game, you get to sit around people, and normally when a goal's scored, everyone's high fiving and stuff like that. I love that camaraderie
Yeah.
with people, and especially not to get super serious or anything, but like with the world the way that it is now, and everyone's at each other's throats about everything. It's kind of nice to to sit in a place and know that you're rooting for the same team and enjoy somebody else's company who you barely even know. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just fun to me. That's what I love about going to Stars games and stuff like that. So let me ask you about some of your favorite players over the course of your lifetime. So, uh, when would you consider that you really, really started following the Stars? Like right off the bat, or was it later than that?
Well, like I said, that '99 Cup run was what really hooked me. Um, and then as far as memories go, like some of the my favorite Stars things that I've been able to partake in person. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, the reason why I wanted to get to that is just to see, like what kind of players you might have remembered. So, like,
Oh, for
yeah,
the favorite, yeah, the favorite players. Yeah, so
yeah,
yeah, that '99 Cup run, seeing Mike Modano perform was obviously a real eye opener for me. And anybody that can skate as fast as he did, and have the skills that he did, and get paid the money that he got, and the girls that he dated, that's pretty an impressive package. So who doesn't want to be Mike Modano, right? Yeah, so I mean, Mike Modano's probably is my all-time favorite. I definitely also enjoyed Hatcher back in the day, and his little nervous twitch, in his eyes, because that would like tell me that something's about to go down. Some fists, some gloves are about to be dropped. Um, Zuboff, I loved him to death, but man, he drove me to drinking at times. Um, yeah, yeah. So those were my three staples from back in the day. And then modern day, my favorite player right now is Seguin. I just really hope, kind of like the Stars had in that '99 run when they kind of got better each year, got a little bit closer, and finally broke through. I'm really still hoping that Ben and Seguin and them can put it together and find a way to finally kick that door down. Because I'd like to see that for them.
yeah, because that core never really got it done for the Stars. They got super close. I mean, you
Oh,
can't get much
oh,
closer than 2020. But
yeah.
like, unfortunately, parts of that particular core are gone. Kari Lettinen is long gone.
Mm,
But Klingberg is now gone, and obviously Radulov is gone now as well. I would consider him part of that core. I know he came to
oh yeah,
Dallas as a free
yeah,
agent, but still, he was a big part of this core and a big
yeah,
part of that older core.
yeah.
But I had always wished that they could have gotten it taken care of, and they never were able to do it. But
I think we actually were, as crazy as this sounds. I know logistically it doesn't, but I thought we were actually closer to winning the cup in 2019 against St. Louis than versus the bubble run, because I can remember before that game 7 against St. Louis, I had told a friend of mine, I'm like, whoever wins this game 7 is going to win the Stanley Cup. And sure enough, St. Louis won it. If that Jamie Benn wraparound had been 6 inches further, I think
dude,
we'd have it on us. But
yeah, not even 6 inches, man. I mean, like half a centimeter, it probably would have been
right,
counted as a goal, man. It was
isn't
so
that
freaking
something?
close.
Isn't that something that you're
Yeah.
no, and yeah, so I said that whoever wins that game 7 is going to win the Stanley Cup, and I was right. St. Louis went on and won it.
And you know what a lot of people don't realize is I know that everyone's like, oh, what is Jim Nill doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. And why didn't he go after this player and trade such and such and all this? The guy seems to know what he's doing. He does. I mean, when you look at the last 3 years, last year was an exception because of, I mean, we started the season late because of COVID. Our season got delayed by 2 weeks. There was a 2 week break at Christmas time. We had so many players that were hurt. I mean, Rope was playing on one leg basically. Seguin played 6 games the season before, not this past season, but the season before. And then when you look at the 29, and then when you look at the 2 years before that, we lost to the Stanley Cup champions both years, 2019 and 2020. and it's not like this team is so far off. So you know they're like, what happened to the Jim Nill that made the Tyler Seguin trade and made the Jason Spezza and the Patrick Sharp trade and the big trades from long ago? But he obviously thinks this team is close, and you could look at the results and say that he's pretty much right.
Well, if you look back even in that, in that, like what we talked about, that ESPN documentary in the late 90s, I mean, Dallas gets knocked out by the Red Wings, and the Red Wings go on to win the Cup. And, we play Colorado back-to-back years in the Western Conference Final. We keep them from winning the Cup. And, of course, we lost to New Jersey in 2000, and then 01, Colorado went back again. So, I mean, for several years, we were knocking on the door and eventually losing to the eventual or butting heads against the Stanley Cup champs. And so yeah, I don't think we're actually that far off.
I don't either, and that's one thing I'm optimistic about with this team. And you could say, we'll talk about it here in a second. We'll talk about it here in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself, but anyways,
Stars hockey. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you. We talked about some of your favorite players. So let's get, and you kind of mentioned it, but let's get into some of your favorite moments or memories that you have as a Dallas Stars fan. And you've you sort of kind of got into some of them, and as I remember, you have some things you kind of want to show us.
Yeah. So I was digging through my closet the other day and actually found something that this is. Our viewers can see this. So this is the Dallas Stars Dallas Morning News Sports Day, and it's dated June 22nd, 1999. So this is the official newspaper sports page from Sports Day Dallas from 1999. So I've got to find a way to get it framed. To be honest, I forgot that I had it, but I think that's pretty neat. I was the other thing that I've had found was this is the official program from Game 1, the official game in the new arena when American Airlines Center was brand new. That was the first home game against Nashville.
So, what year was that?
That was in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the neat thing about it is I was showing this to my oldest daughter, and I was like, that game was only like shortly after 9/11. So just the whole getting back into the arena, there was still, a slight nervousness about it. Security, was at an all-time high. And I tried to explain to my oldest daughter that all the when you go into a sports venue now, you've got the clear bags and nothing bigger than this size or that size. And, you go through metal detection. And a lot of that stuff didn't really exist back in the day. And the stuff that she thinks is standard operating procedure now for her, I'm explaining to her, I'm like,
they used to not be that way.
That used to not be that way. And it's all because of 9/11. And this was, just shortly after that, because this is dated October 5th, 2001. So
that's less than a month.
Yeah,
that's less than a month.
You were 3 weeks short after 9/11. So it's kind of neat to look back and just see from a different perspective, from a younger person's perspective of what they just view as like, well, it's always been this way. Well, no, it hasn't. So I'm glad I found this because it gave me a chance to kind of educate her a little bit on some previous, the sports world back in the day, as I like to say.
And we were actually talking about this before we started recording, and I saw the American flag, and I was just like, why does that have that? And I'm glad you mentioned that, though, because that makes total sense. I can't believe I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Little known fact for those of you, because I'm full of useless information. The first ever Dallas Star that scored a goal at the American Airlines Center, Sergei Zubov. So,
hey, I got a trivia question for you, and see if you know the answer to this.
Okay.
Who was the first Dallas Star ever to score a goal?
That was Broughton.
Neil Broughton. Very good. Not a lot of people know that. That's cool that you know that.
Yeah. And then the other thing I had found was I got to go to the my wife had bought me tickets to the All-Star game back in 2007. So I got to attend the All-Star game. So that was pretty neat. Another one of my probably my all-time favorite moment though. Well, I have two. One is of just a general fan, and then one as a parent. So when the Stars won the Cup back in '99, they had the parade down in Dallas. Mm-hmm. I had a friend that had scored tickets to go to the after party at Reunion Arena, where they brought it on stage, the Stanley Cup on stage, and had this big ceremony, and Ralph and Razor were there and did a big to-do on stage. And that was just the neatest thing you'll ever experience in your life, is when they bring out the Stanley Cup inside your home arena, really for the first time, because obviously they won it in Buffalo. And I mean, just your ears were just popping because it was so loud in there. Everybody's just going nuts as Darian Hatcher's bringing in the Stanley Cup. And that was really neat. That's definitely something I'll never forget. As a parent, I got a funny story to share real quick. So this was during the bubble run and against Colorado. And it's game 7. It's, Kiwi's game. I'm just a few months before that, we had cut the cord from our satellite dish. And so I'm live streaming all this stuff, all the games now, So I'm still getting used to it. And the game is delayed, but I don't know it, you know what I mean? From real time, so to speak. Yeah. It's just a slight delay. So my oldest daughter's upstairs and she's on the phone with in her room, and she's talking to a friend, and apparently her friend that she was on the phone with also had the game on. And her friend says, "Oh, it looks like Dallas just scored." And that was when JFK, Yoel freaking Kiviranta did his
but he didn't say freaking.
He didn't say freaking. So long story short, so my daughter's on the phone with her friend. Dallas has scored, but I don't know it yet, right? So as soon as her friend tells her, "Oh, I think Dallas just scored," she goes, "Dallas scored?" And her friend says, "Yeah." And she goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to put my phone on mute because my dad's about to scream and he doesn't know it yet." So she goes on mute, and sure enough, 30 seconds later is when I realize, it comes across my TV feed what had happened, and I'm running around and screaming and making a fool of myself. But it's pretty funny to hear my daughter like, "Yeah, I'm going to have to go on mute because it's going to get really embarrassing here."
Oh, that's a teenage daughter for you right there. Yeah, that's awesome though. That's absolutely awesome. Speaking of Klingberg and your 3-year-old son loving Klingberg, that was actually my most memorable moment from the 2020 run. It was actually it was fairly similar to this. My daughter was just a couple months old at this point. And I don't even remember which game it was or whatever. It's actually on our YouTube channel, believe it or not. It's like a little 30-second little clip that my wife took. She knew that the Stars had scored, and she got her phone out and immediately started recording me.
Is this the game where Klingberg beat Nashville?
I don't think it was that one. I think it was during the bubble run, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember what game it was. I think it might have been the Calgary series.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, she's holding my daughter and she's, with her phone recording me. I'm not paying attention to her. I had no idea she was recording me. And, Klingberg scores and I flip out. I scream at the top of my lungs and I was like, "Thank goodness, John Klingberg." And, meanwhile, my daughter is like bawling her eyes out because I scared her.
Right.
So I don't know why. I love hearing stories like that. That's hilarious and absolutely fun to hear that your daughter was like that. She's like, "It's gonna get really embarrassing here. I'm gonna put you on mute."
Yeah. Dad's always embarrassing.
It's always embarrassing. Goodness gracious.
So the other thing I found when I was going through that closet is this is a little mini toy Stanley Cup replica, and I picked it up. I don't even remember where I got. I think my wife and I actually got it on our honeymoon when I stopped at a sports store and just picked it up as like a little souvenir. But what's neat about it is that my son carries it around the house with him half the time. I've even caught him napping with it a few times. So it's pretty neat to think that you buy something from a store, you know, just thinking that it was a cute little knickknack. And little did I know, 17 years later, my son would be sleeping with it and watching Dallas Stars hockey 24/7.
That's amazing. That's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
some people carry like a puppy, you know, like a little stuffed puppy or, you know, a teddy bear or something.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
son carries a
This is
Stanley Cup.
this is Blanky.
All right. Well, we got into our last big question here, and this is one that I ask everybody that comes onto this podcast: is how are you feeling about next season? And what's nice for you is that at the time of this recording, it's July 17th, so it's after free agency. So we know that Mason Marchman has been signed and Colin Miller. And unfortunately, we know that John Klingberg is like, we're like 99% sure he's probably not coming back. There's that 1% chance that he might. But how do you feel about the Stars going into next season? Are you like straight optimistic about it? The Stars are going to win the Stanley Cup. Are you kind of cautious about it? Or are you kind of like, you know, I'm really, really depressed about how this is going to go? Where are you at among that?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I mean, I'm not Avs fan level, you know, of confidence. Like, yeah, I will say, knowing that with what we have in Ottinger, I think that's going to put us, you know, in the mix in the playoff hunt, you know, for the next, you know, 10 years easy. You know, I can see him making that kind of a career and staple for himself. If you look at what's happened over in the Eastern Conference with free agency and some of the trades and stuff like that, I actually think that Dallas has a decent shot at the Cup, mainly because we're not in the Eastern Conference. You know, if you look at what the Eastern Conference has done, I mean, you know, like Columbus, you know, with them getting Johnny Hockey, and Ottawa's got Drew, and you know, Pittsburgh, I saw just, you know, got a hold of Petrie, a defenseman. You know, I knew he was in the mix or possibly of talks of being a possibility for us at one point, but you know, Washington got Kemper. So I'm really just more than anything just thankful we're not in the Eastern Conference. I know Colorado's still going to be Colorado, and they're going to be a force to deal with for the next, you know, 5 to 10 years. But I mainly just feel good about our roster because we're not in the East. As far as what we've done in the off season, I was happy with the Marchment signing. I did take a moment and reflect. It kind of hit me in the gut when we signed Marchment because one, obviously his dad, you know, had just passed away, so I was really sorry to hear about that. But it was also kind of a soft moment going, damn, I'm getting old. I remember when his dad played. You know, so there's that. I was glad to see the Marchment signing, mainly because of his age. Like, if you look at the Stars roster the last few years, we had like the 30 plus or the 24 and under. And
nobody in between.
There wasn't anything, you know what I mean? So it's kind of nice to see we needed that. We need that. I would, if we can get Gurionov to find his game again, I think we'll be just fine. My fear is that Gurionov is going to wind up what happening to Val, where he goes somewhere else and tears it up. Even if you remember back in the day, like James Neal, left-handed forward, great shot. You know, we traded him away, which was a mistake. And he goes to Pittsburgh and tears it up, you know, with Sidney Crosby and them. So I really hope that we can knock the rust off of Gurionov. The other thing is it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do it, but could we please get Miro on his strong side. Am I asking for too much?
No,
I just don't understand it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a wide receiver. He's the fastest player in the league. No, we're not going to go deep with him all. You know, no, you need to.
no, he's just going to be the slot receiver. He's
Yeah,
not going to be the wide receiver. He's going to be the slot receiver.
No. Yeah. So, I'm really not sure why we didn't pair Miro with Klingberg more. My grassy knoll theory on that has been, and I know because my son watches the highlights daily on this. But if you look back at that 2019 run, that Game 7 against St. Louis, and I know, Rick wasn't the coach. He was coaching the D-men still at the time, because Monty was coach. But the two defensemen that were on the ice during that goal that was Klingberg and Miro. And I will often sit back and kind of privately wonder if that had an impact going forward. That as soon as Bones took over, that kind of stopped. You know what I mean? Pairing those two together. So it's just that stuff I stay up late thinking about. So.
Now, and here's the frustrating thing about all of this, and we can talk about Klingberg too now that we're here. Like, what really, really sucks about all of this is that John Klingberg is a Pete DeBoer guy. Like, the way that, and I've done so much research on this, and I cannot find anybody that would fit DeBoer's system better than Klingberg. The way that DeBoer likes to get offense is he likes to take it, he likes to get it in deep. You go after it, you put it up to the point, and the defenseman get it through and just get it towards the net.
Yeah, rebound.
Or just get it in net. Yeah, and he's all about rebounds and second chances. Not necessarily like the whole, dangle stuff, which, I mean, his players in the past have done. But he's more about, like, that hard-nosed hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And Klingberg is an absolute perfect example of what would fit in DeBoer's system. And what sucks even more is that you have somebody who may give, Miro and Klingberg together a chance, and Klingberg goes off, and he's, as of this recording, he's still not signed anywhere, which is bizarre to me. But, if only.
You touched on Jim Nill earlier, and you appreciating that what he's done, and where's the Jim Nill from back in the day, making the trade for Patrick Sharp and the Seguin trade and all that. And I appreciate everything that Jim Nill has done. One of the things that, and I swear I'm going to start a riot if he does it one more time, but if we sign one more old, slow-moving defenseman, I mean, even from back in his Sergei Gonchar and God bless him, Ben Lovejoy. I mean, appreciate everything you did for us, dude. But and then here comes Ryan Suter at more money and more term, and I'm like,
and a no movement clause.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we give that out like candy.
Just the old guys.
Yeah, just the old guy. Yeah. So I mean, I'm thinking about coming. I never played hockey growing up. But I'm thinking about going to play and asking Jim Nill if I can have a contract, but I'm probably too young for him at 41. He probably wants somebody older and more veteran back there. So I got a chance to listen to your other one of the other guests that you had on, Uri.
Uri.
And he was spot on.
Smart guy.
He was spot on with his roster analysis. We don't need an all-star defenseman back there, but if we can get a Stefan Robida type player, even a Trevor Daly, I know Trevor's left-handed, but even that level of defenseman, just somebody that can move the puck, be solid, doesn't have to be an all-star, but, certainly brings their hard hat and lunch pail every day. I think that would be a shot in the arm for the defense. What do you think?
And here's my thing about the Colin Miller signing. Colin Miller, from what I've been told, and I did a crap ton of research on him because I'd never heard of him or anything like that. The only mention I knew of him is that he used to play for Buffalo the past 3 seasons. So he's played on a really bad team. Not so much last year. The Buffalo Sabres were pretty mediocre. They were better. But the 2 years before that, they were, god awful. But he is a very solid defenseman. He is a very, very solid defensive defenseman, and he's right-handed. So, and the thing that I've seen about him is that he can play up and down the lineup. So what that means is that you could see multiple different pairings of defensemen.
So in your analysis, from what you've been able to research on, do you see him like a Teppo Numminen type defenseman? I mean, is he more of a stay-at-home type?
He's
like
very
side than that.
He's not. He's kind of like Esa Lindell, but not as offensive. If that makes any sense. Esa Lindell back in the day used to be. He used to have some offensive upside to him. There's the one year that he, Klingberg, and Miro all had over 10 goals, which was weird for defensemen. But here's what I think the D pairs are going to look like. I think it's going to, and a lot of it is going to rely on one particular player. And if this one particular player can't figure it out, then we may be in a world of hurt. And that player is Hakanpää. Hakanpää is going to have to step up. He's a right-handed defenseman. He's familiar with the Stars now. He's shown he can play in the top 4. Maybe he gets bumped up to the top 2 so that Miro can play on his strong side.
I was pleased with Hakanpää in that Calgary series, weren't you?
Yes, and he's had some mixed results. More good than bad, but there's still been some plays where I've been like, you turned the puck over right there? That doesn't make sense. So what I think is going to happen, and what I hope is going to happen, is that Miro will play on the strong side, and then they've got either Hakanpää or Miller possibly to play next to him. Now, that's way above Hakanpää and Miller's pay grade. But I still think it could work because of how good Miro is on his strong side, if that makes any sense. He can raise the level of his D partners play just because of his eliteness and how well he can play. So, and then that leaves the second pairing for Lindell and either Hakanpää or Miller. Miller's a pretty big guy too, so that could be your shutdown pairing. And then you've got a pretty decent bottom pairing with either with Harley and Suter, or Harley and Hanley, or Hanley and Suter, or maybe even Suter. Suter can still play defensive hockey. It's just they rely on him too much for other things that he doesn't need to be doing. His minutes needs to be diminished. So what's nice about the Miller signing is that it opens up many possibilities within the D corps, which is very nice. I mean, there's lots of possibilities that the Stars could work with.
Yeah, I was really, really upset when we had signed Suter, not because I didn't have respect for him as a player, but it was the term and the no trade clause. I'm like, that's fine, but is this going to keep us from signing Klingberg?
Yeah, it definitely is.
What it's looking like, I mean, and I know Uriah had touched on this, and again, he was spot on. But if we can find a way to unload the Dobie and Foxa contract, it might not be in Klingberg's. Might not be a bad idea for him to take a 1-year, $6 million deal with Dallas and just re-rack next offseason. I'd take that in a heartbeat if we can make it.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that the way that the cap is right now, it looks like the most they could probably offer him, and let's assume that both of those trades go through, and let's also assume that the Stars retain no salary on either one of those. The most they're looking at is $6 million, but the more realistic number is like 5, maybe 5.25, maybe. And that's doing all the research that I have done with the cap and using Cap Friendly and stuff like that. The longer that this goes on with Klingberg, the more it makes me think that possibility of him coming back to Dallas is still there. And maybe he's just waiting for the Stars to find a trade partner to take both of those contracts, and then he'll come back. And if he does that, holy freaking crap, our defense looks
really good. I mean, I give I don't know what grade you would give the offseason as of right now at the time of this recording, but I'd probably give it a B, maybe B plus. But if
I said A minus with my brothers when we talked about it on our podcast.
Yeah, I gave it a B plus, but they would absolutely get upgraded to an A if they can find a way to squeeze Klingberg back onto the roster.
Yeah, that would be best case scenario. And then you've got numerous options. You got the chance for Klingberg to play with Miro, like, consistently and frequently, and see how that works. Two puck moving defensemen, two guys who could play on power play together. They could both quarterback their own power play if they wanted to. So, man, the more I think about it, the more I want Klingberg back. And I even pointed this out I made a video the night before free agency started, and I'm like, is that just like a goodbye to Klingberg? And I mentioned on this pod that, like, me, Chris, James, we're really hard on him because we were just really frustrated with his turnovers. But at the end of the day, he did a ton for Stars hockey, and he will go down as one of the best defensemen in franchise history.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I was listening to the podcast with your brothers when I was on a flight back from Los Angeles. Which brother of yours was it that was so excited we didn't do the Brent Burns trade?
Oh, that was Chris. Chris was very excited about that. So
what was funny about it was I was sitting there thinking about Ryan Suter and Gonchar and all that. I'm like, he's going to do it again. Jim Neal's he's going to go after. I'm like, stop it. So when I heard your brother like standing up and going, hey, we won the offseason. We didn't go after Brent Burns. And I'm like,
I think he gave Neal a B+ just because of that one move alone. The fact that he didn't do it.
The fact that he didn't do
it. He loved the Marchment signing, and he was like kind of whatever about the Miller signing. I love the Miller signing, but he was just like, just because Brent Burns got traded to Carolina rather than Dallas. He was like, I think he called it like super. He made like a new grade for Jim Neal just for the offseason.
That's awesome.
All right, man. It's getting pretty late here, so we're gonna cut it off here tonight. But thanks, man, for coming on and doing this. I really do appreciate it. And
well, thank you. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of this. It's been a lot of fun. I want to thank you and your brothers for y'all putting this podcast together. I think it's a neat concept with what you came up with and getting to interview the fellow fans, and it's really helped kind of bridge that gap in the off season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's pretty neat.
And we got some other interviews that we're really excited. I'll go ahead and just throw you a bone just so you know.
All right.
So, and I don't think I've even announced this yet, but 6th round pick Matthew Seminoff of the Dallas Stars from this past draft is going to be coming on the show very shortly.
Oh, very nice.
So he's agreed to come on the show. We haven't set a time yet, but that's going to be really cool, and I'm really looking forward to talking with him and seeing how, like, what he thinks of Texas and all sorts of other stuff. I'm really excited about that. So
yeah, that's outstanding. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah. Well, again, man, thanks for coming on. And one day I hope to actually meet all of you guys in person. Everybody that I've talked to, all of you guys have been
at your front doorstep one day. Don't worry.
Right. Exactly. Right. All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. For those of you that are listening, if you're watching on YouTube, please click like and subscribe. Leave us a comment down in the comment section down below. If you're listening on the podcast side, we'd appreciate a 5-star review. If you loved our banter between me and David, and or me and my brothers. Me and my brothers are much more at each other's throats, calling each other idiots all the time. But it is what it is with brothers. So. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Along with David, my name's Ryan. This has been Starcastic Remarks, Stars Fan Stories. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you guys have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're listening. See you guys later.